Always be completely serious, okay? Only if you look really serious, your wife will gain confidence. In this episode, we're gonna assemble the short block of our 2.7 liter TDV6 Land Rover Discovery 3 engine with 270,000 kilometers on the clock.
Hope you enjoy the video.
Just for giggles, we're gonna compare the weight of the new pistons to the old pistons. So if I weigh the old piston here, it's 781 grams. Another one, old one, 780. Now a new one, 780. Now that's impressive. Here, check this out. Another new one, 780. That is nice. I'm on the third piston because I used two to practice this off camera. The connecting rod got to go with the shoulder towards the V. The piston got to face forward. If I screw this up, I'm in trouble later on. Now down here I got one of those little bulldog clips in.
Yeah.
So the pin doesn't fall through. Now I got to clamp the piston down in my vise here. And this is really annoying. And usually when we do this on camera, the clip flies away a couple of times, okay? See, because this is now... Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay.
The body.
Because it's frustrating. Looking for it for about 2.5 hours and some swearing. Tell you, it just doesn't. Okay, this is so annoying. I would stop making videos at one point. It's in that dangerous spot where it can still fly out. I hate this job. Okay. Now I gotta turn it around. Other side.
Glasses are all dirty now.
Extremely annoying. Yeah. This is so annoying, I tell you.
Yep.
Okay, this is probably on the 50th attempt now.
The other three are gonna be off camera again.
You bet, or we're gonna stop making YouTube videos.
So it wouldn't be a complete engine rebuild if Christian didn't have to make a DIY tool.
I'm trying to make one of those installation sleeves what you can use to install a piston.
The most confusing scale on the planet.
But I got it by the micron. So we're gonna have to use a little bit of Scotch-Brite.
Oh, I said that just before and he said, no, we don't need that.
It was in a different context.
No,
okay?
it wasn't.
It was.
Unbelievable.
That's 10 microns, okay? This bore is now exactly identical to the cylinder bore. Now we got to turn it around and machine it with a 3-degree taper all the way through.
Oh,
so we simply use a 3-degree taper. So this will take an eternity. So we're going to give this a good polish here.
All cleaned and polished.
So is that now smooth or what?
Really smooth.
Let's do another test.
Yep.
This out now, okay? Oh, this is really smooth now.
Yeah.
I can do that now all day long. I mean, that's the tool what Steve must have in the plant.
You think they're inserted by hand?
They insert it by hand. Engine builder insert
Oh my
this.
God.
Okay, watch it. This is magical. I have our installation sleeve done. Now it's a piece of cake to install these pistons.
Yeah.
And I don't have to use that spanner bend anymore. I mean, the only Toyota scene there is the one from the latest James Bond movie. Where else was there a race scene where a Land Cruiser was involved, where it was about high speed? It's just not happening. It's a G-Class, it's a Range Rover, it's a Porsche Cayenne, it's an Audi A8, it's stuff like that. And of course a Mercedes S-Class. No bad guys are driving the Land Cruiser as well. That's also not quite a clear statement.
No, that's true. You just have to watch the right movie.
In the Hollywood movies, The bad guys drive Mercedes and the good guys drive Land Rovers typically.
And the terrorists drive Toyotas.
But they usually drive pickup trucks, okay?
That's
so they
true.
can mount their machine gun in the back and drive in a big convoy.
Christian wanted an A8 after he watched Ronin. Thank God that didn't happen.
I think that's not over yet.
Oh, okay.
For cleaning these, we use ATF. Put some ATF in here. I take a white paper towel, and not 4 or 5 like Vera would, just one.
And I crumble them.
And now I wipe this really clean from the top to the bottom. And once the towel is only red,
dirty.
it's clean. Next one.
What do you call a fussel?
Lint,
Lint.
like in my belly button. You want to reach in here if you feel still debris?
Let me look for lint. Today is a day where we install the pistons. With new pistons, the old conrods, and of course I'm gonna get new bolts.
Actually, you don't. You get the original
Oh,
bolts.
I'm getting the original bolts. My new conrod bearings, they are king bearings. We learned our lesson. We're gonna practice first on 1 or 2 pistons and then we'll show you the procedure. So what we're also gonna do is a plastic gauge test. And Christian wanted to do only 1. We're gonna do all 6. 6 pieces of plastic gauge. We use the British kind.
See, I'm forming a line with my plastic gauges. What I gotta do first is remove the back coating of the king bearings. We do that on our installs because typically the gap is too small and not too big.
Perfect.
You happy with that explanation?
Yes, I'm happy
Okay.
now. We had
That
a
was
big discussion.
explanation number 3, and you're not gonna see the other 2. I'm gonna cut them out, and of course, I'm not touching the bearing surface with the Scotch-Brite. I gotta treat that bearing surface like the Holy Grail. I talk.
You talk?
Yeah. So we got the first plastic gauge test here completed, and what's the verdict, my dear?
A little bit less than 0.038, so right in the middle where it's supposed to be.
So between this one, and we are right in the middle of the range. We're going to record this one in our Excel spreadsheet, and don't forget to take a picture with the cell phone.
Yes.
Right? Okay,
Yeah.
and it turns green.
It's perfect again.
Piston number 2,
Yeah.
0.038, perfect.
Perfect.
Step number 1, finally clean the piston bore. I do that in 2 stages. Stage 1 is wipe it with brake cleaner. Stage 2 cleaning, I give it a coat of red ATF fluid. Wipe the red ATF completely out.
We have spent a lot more time cleaning those piston bores yesterday evening.
Discuss the result with your wife.
That is not clean.
That's clean enough. Move on even if your wife thinks it's not clean.
Oh my God.
Okay? Clean the crankshaft pin.
You see that?
Now we give it a lubrication with heavy oil. You can
You can see that?
Yes,
Yeah,
everybody can
probably.
see that.
Yeah.
I lubricate the pin of the crankshaft. Grab piston number 3. Arrow pointing forward.
Yeah.
Snap ring here, snap ring there. Connecting rod number 3. Shoulder of connecting rod up when piston is pointing towards front. So the assembly is correct. Final wipe of the piston. Now I clean the pin bearing surface with emery cloth. Use my installation tool where I marked the position of the piston rings. O for oil control ring, upper ring, lower ring. Trench my installation tool in oil. So I got them roughly pre-arranged. Dip the piston in heavy oil. Install it in the tool. So I hold the connecting rod. I arrange my L, the oil control ring up here, the U right here, the O right here. Now try to install the piston. It takes a little bit of a wiggle here and there until I can stick my fingers into the pin.
Yeah.
Right there. Now I install the bearing. Red ATF, and we coat the back side of the bearing. And I take here a bearing for the upper, and I orient the riding of the bearing to the riding on the conrod. I push the bearing in place. I rotate my crankshaft to bottom dead center. I put the rod in the precise orientation. I seat my tool, push the piston home.
Beautiful.
So I tend to turn the engine over and look at it while I take the piston home. There's the connecting rod. So now I pick up the connecting rod with the crankshaft.
Doesn't matter. Whoops.
I make sure my bearing is still seated in the center. Plastic gauge test.
My most favorite part.
My least favorite part. We just use oil to test it. Now I take bearing shell number 3. Those are fractured bearing shells. You do not want to screw that up.
With Scotch-Brite.
Always be completely serious, okay? Only if you look really serious, your wife will gain confidence. Tupfer.
Yeah.
With a light coat of ATF, and we use the lower, specially drawn here because you lose focus at one point. Orient the riding to the riding on the conrod. Seat the lower bearing in the center. Precisely. Practice your serious look. Make sure the riding matches the riding.
Oh.
For the plastic gauge test, do not use your final bolts. I got 2 special bolts here marked with white heads, and I don't want to have them in my engine later on.
Oh my god.
20 Newton meters. Carefully seated. For the plastic gauge test, I do 45-degree yield. Open the bolts. And in any case, do not yell at your wife or you will be doing this job alone. Test bolts back out, bearing back off.
Looking just beautiful.
Take the reading. I would say 0.042.
Yeah, okay.
Okay?
It's the biggest one.
0.042. Okay, we take a picture of all of the plastic gauge tests, which we put later on into our Excel spreadsheet. Good. So we give it 0.042, I would say, right?
I hope I'm still
I
filming.
hope your lens is not dirty.
Looks just fine.
Okay, good. There we go.
No, there's still stuff left here in the
Okay.
filler roll.
That's the final assembly now. Install the bearing. Those are the original bolts we took out. They can be used up to 3 times in total, so we are now on the 2nd usage. Make sure you keep looking serious. 20 Newton meters, seat them carefully. Take them to 20. 2 times 45 degrees is the final torque. We got the torque wrench set to 50 Newton meters because 60 Newton meters is maximum. So we want it to click on the 2nd 45 and still have a little bit to go. 45. 45.
Perfect. Perfect. Piston number 3 is done. So the first bank clearance.
Measure side clearance. 0.35 goes in.
Ooh,
0.4 goes in.
shit.
0.45 is tight.
Oh, good.
So we are at 0.4. So we record 0.4 in our Excel spreadsheet. And it turns green because the upper limit is 0.52.
Okay. Good. Bank 1 is done.
You guys gonna witness bank number 2 now as a time lapse.
Oh, so I will be in the picture.
So anybody have any questions? Oh, I'm sorry, it doesn't work in a YouTube video. here with the center punch, so that the next guy behind us knows not to use them 2 more times.
But that's going to be the archaeologist.
The archaeologist in a couple of thousands of years. That's
Or
true.
Robin. Maybe one of our grandchildren. Torque to rotate with the pistons installed, and the max is supposed to be 25.
What's
I
your guess?
say 13.
Okay, I'm gonna risk it. I'm gonna say 12.
Oh, couldn't you have
Okay,
said
so
17
right now
or
it's
something?
13.
Now you got to get it moving
Okay,
first.
gotta get it moving first. Yeah. Oh man, that one is tight.
I can hear it. Something is rubbing. Rubbing is no good.
Okay.
Shit, it's not. Then I say 17.
17 does it.
Okay, then go 16.
It's because it has new pistons and rings.
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect. So it's probably 15 then.
16 did it. 15.
15's gonna click. No.
15 does it.
Oh, don't tell me now 13 was.
No. 14. 14. 14 doesn't do it.
Yeah. So the breakaway torque is 15.
Torque to rotate, crank and piston, 25 maximum, 15. Next step is piston protrusion. Are we going to be doing that tonight? The last step of the short block build is to measure the piston protrusion. This is an extremely critical task on a TDV6 or SDV6 engine. Also, these engines can hardly not be dressed. They cannot be machined up here, and also the cylinder heads cannot be machined. If you machine them, you will not find a suitable gasket. Now, I made a special tool to measure that. There is a separate video on this on our channel. I can link this right here. Now, what I do is I set my gauge to read 0 on a flat surface. You can see that here. Now, when I measure the piston protrusion in order to select the correct head gasket thickness, I got to do that cylinder for cylinder. And I got to measure each one in 2 positions, on the left side and on the right side. 5 millimeter in on the center line of the piston. A few times up and down to get that piston into a neutral position. And when it's almost up, I put my wrench in a really convenient way where I have some good leverage. I set my gauge perfectly straight in the center of the piston, 5 millimeter in from the cylinder bore edge. Now I push it up to the absolute highest point of the piston, and I roughly know where that is and where to stop. Okay? So, here's my reading. You could see that the needle already moved back a little bit. So it's 0.56, and then I imagine a 2 behind it, 0.562. Now, without moving this piston any further, I'm gonna do the lower side, so I have to turn the gauge around, and then I take the second reading. It's important not to move the piston between these 2 readings. They gotta be measured in the same setup of the piston. That's very important. Piston 1 reading completed. I enter them into my Excel spreadsheet what I made. The spreadsheet automatically calculates the correct head gasket thickness in grade 2, 3, 4 or 5. It also automatically lists the L-ring part number for that head gasket. The spreadsheet does expect to take each measurement twice to eliminate the possibility of an error. So I do piston number 1, 2, 3 up to 6, and when I'm done, I'm doing the same thing again. Because I measure each piston twice, I have 12 readings in the first go-round and another 12 readings in the second go-round, making it 24 readings. The spreadsheet calculates the maximum deviation between each piston in each bank, evaluates if that deviation is acceptable. If it is, it puts out the gasket grade. Now, by the way, L-ring does not make a grade 1 gasket for the 2.7 liter TDV6. So the spreadsheet will display NA. If it comes out to be a grade 1, then you have to choose another brand like Cortego or a Jusa or some other cheaper brand. The head gaskets have these little tabs here. That's representing the grade. So this is a grade 3 gasket. The spreadsheet also lists the gasket thickness. So a grade 2 is 1.17 millimeters in size, and the range where it can be installed, what I show in my spreadsheet, is out of the Ford manual. The range actually shown in the L-ring catalog is wrong. just like most of the ranges are wrong on other websites of the gasket manufacturers. So it's important that you trust my worksheet because the data I show is out of the Ford instruction manual.
And guess which head gaskets Christian bought many weeks ago?
I bought number 3 and now I need number 2.
Exactly, so we have to wait.
And we wasted about $70. The reason we need different head gaskets, even though we still have the original crankshaft, is simply because we installed new pistons. The pistons we used are neural.
Neural by Federal Mogul. So Federal Mogul is OEM for Land Rover.
Yes. So this piston had the exact same look and feel as the original piston, but it does come up with 0.03 difference in the head gasket size. So I could of course put the number 3 gaskets and stick them in, but I would be off a couple of hundredths of a millimeter. And for me, if somebody went through the effort making different gaskets, we should make the effort in using them and not putting in the wrong gasket.
Exactly.
The engine is going to lose compression if you do that.
And there are so many engines which only last 10,000 or 20,000 kilometers.
Okay, I want to show you guys quickly the spreadsheet I made, and it's intended for the 2.7 liter and the 3 liter TDV6. The sheet is intended to document all your rebuild data. So you start with the main bearing housing diameter with the conrod piston and weight, the crankshaft runout, the crankshaft decoding, what lets you find out what your actual physical size of your crankshaft pins and mains are. Then it goes into the main bearing clearance, and whenever you enter data, it knows the spec tolerances from Ford out of the Ford manual. It knows the torque to rotate crank. It knows camshaft end float. It knows piston bore running clearance, conrod big end diameters. It knows the big end running clearance diameters. And here you can see I inserted a picture of our plastic gauge test, and all our data is green. It knows the big end side clearance. It knows torque to rotate crank and piston. And then the very important thing is the piston protrusion and head gasket selection. When I change these values, see what happens if I enter here an illegal value. I go here 0.3. It will actually say that the deviation in one bank is too great, and it turns that field in red. So all the necessary data you need to document when rebuilding your engine fits into the spreadsheet available to our Patreons, downloadable from our Patreon page.
And we are not liable if you...
So if you wreck your engine and you call us, hey, your damn spreadsheet is wrong, we're going to tell you, well, it was free of charge anyhow, just our videos are free of charge. You got to watch our video and then use the spreadsheet. Then you're doing a good job, your engine will last.
Yeah.
A spreadsheet like this will evolve, and whenever I make a change, I upload it again or I replace the old one in my post on Patreon. This completes our short block build video this week. I hope there was something new to you and you enjoyed the video. If you do enjoy it, think about subscribing to our channel. And at this point, we want to thank our Patreons a lot for their continuous support. And
we'll see you next Sunday.
Very